Hey everyone, my name is Lindsey. I'm going to be teaching the science lesson. I have my students right here. This is Brian, Branson, and Alexis. And in my lesson plans, Brian is student 1, Branson is student 2, and Alexis is student 3. And today for the lesson, we are going to grow vegetables. And there's a bunch of different variables that we have and that I've provided for them that they're going to choose and discuss within one another, what is best or what they feel is best to grow their plant. First of all, I just want to ask you guys a few quick questions to see what kind of background knowledge you have on growing, if you have any experience in gardening or anything. So have any of you ever grown anything? It doesn't have to be vegetables.
Yeah. We've done a few gardens. I grew up, parents did a few gardens. I've done a few gardens where we've had simple stuff like tomatoes and green and beans and cantaloupe, squash, and zucchini, stuff like that. I also did a lot of farming at a younger age where it was a wheat farm mostly, so it was more or less grain, where it did wheat and hay straw. The hay straw, you don't really use nothing but for, livestock and on the side of the road, stuff like that. But the granite stuff has a lot of uses, purposes in life, obviously stuff, dog food, cereals, things of that nature. We also grew beans, obviously everyone knows what beans are,
Soybeans.
The only purpose, you can only get the beans from a soybean plant. You can't do nothing with the crop itself. So, as of wheat straw, you can do a lot with the crop. You can take the wheat straw, like I was saying, and pick that, turn into hay bales, turn into big round bales. There's a lot more you can do with the wheat straw. That's why we focus a lot more on wheat straw on the farm
Than soybeans.
Instead of soybeans, yeah.
And I'm sure that was a lot different than growing a garden.
Yeah, there's a lot more different equipment. There's a lot more different fertilizers, pesticides, stuff like that you gotta use on the soil, on the plants, on the seeds and stuff like that. It's a lot bigger process than you would consider in your backyard garden. There's a lot more on the line than if you put a garden in your backyard. You hope for the best, you do all the best you can. It's not a livelihood like as far as farming more or less is. So
farming, you still kind of hope for the best and hope it all goes
yeah, that's
right.
true. Yeah, farming, same thing. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
What about you, Branson? Have you ever grown anything?
Yeah, we've done, your normal garden in the back, so you can have a few extra vegetables inside the house. Squash, zucchini, tomatoes, peppers. Have a little bit of spicy stuff to your food. And we did cucumbers a lot too, because everybody loves some cucumbers.
I grew up chicken farming too, right?
Well, yeah.
And the compost from the chicken.
Yeah, we use the
Kinda
compost
like a
from the
full
chickens
circle.
a lot, just because it's good fertilizer. It might stink like crap, but hey, it works really good. I don't care what kind of soil you use or where you're at. You put that stuff down, everything will grow.
That's right. We use that on the farm a lot too. And that's good. That's good stuff there. Like I said, it might stink when they spray it out in the fields, but it does. It really does good.
Well, it's got all that natural decomposing, just like you would if you built the raised garden beds like you did.
Yeah, that's right.
Putting tree leaves and old limbs and letting all that stuff decompose. I mean, it's all natural.
Yeah, it's good natural fertilizer for it.
So I heard you say you built raised garden beds. Do you know what you're planning to plant this year?
Yeah, a few things like I was talking about squash, zucchini. A lot of stuff. It'll save you a lot from going to the store having to get tomatoes, snap beans. I don't know. We tried cantaloupes one year, didn't work out. We might try them again. I think we might have learned better this time of maybe what we should do, what we shouldn't do.
What did you do wrong last time? Why didn't they grow?
I think they just had too much exposure and they were just too close to the ground. And a lot of animals were a problem too when we did that. There was a lot of rabbits and squirrels that came in. And with something like that, it's got such a strong smell to it that as far as like a bean would or a squash would, I think it just attracted so many vermins to it. Mm-hmm. And I think, and maybe not paying much attention to it, given that it's a fruit and being so close to the ground, it's easy for it to rot. So I think paying a lot more, tending a lot to them, a lot more better than you would maybe the squash and the squash, you can just let it grow and grow and grow, and eventually go out there. You might get 10, you might get 30 out there. Squash, I think, with squash, but.
I know you have to rotate watermelons. Do you have to rotate cantaloupe too?
Yeah, you mean like rotate it on the ground? Yeah. I think that was another problem with I never did that with it. So I think that the bottom side is really what I found rotted out the worst for me, not rotating, not paying close enough attention to it. I kind of just let it do what it did. Not do what it did, but as far
like
as
you
squash,
did with your vegetables.
Yeah, like I do with all the other vegetables. I think with fruit, I think you have to take a little bit more keen eye to and take more care of than you would just your normal vegetables in your backyard.
Wait, do you have to do that in a farm?
I assume
like,
so.
If you grow watermelon, do you have to go flip them?
There's so many of them. Most of the time, whatever's rotten, they just don't pick up and they just leave it there.
I mean,
you're talking about thousands and thousands of.
I know, but.
And in the watermelon fields, it's more or less big mounds that's shown there. So not the whole bottom of the watermelon is sitting on the ground. And I think there's less exposure to the ground as far as that.
You might have like this little bit of a spot that's yellow on the watermelon versus where you grow it, you'll have the whole bottom part of it.
Yeah, when mine was flat on the ground growing on top of grass, weeds, everything. It didn't have good drainage because, in the fields, all it's mound and plowed out good, so it just got drainage all through the field. So, obviously, it's not going to sit there in moisture the whole time, just rot out the bottom. It drains real good, so when the sun comes out, it'll dry out that soil and dry out the bottom of it where it won't hold that moisture in the bottom of it, I don't think.
Do you have garden experience, Alexis?
I've just done indoor plants. Like, when I lived with my grandma's, they had, like, aloe plants and herbs and
so you got some experience. So another question, what is needed for a plant to grow?
Definitely sunlight. No sunlight will definitely, it won't take long for it won't even start in the ground without sunlight if it don't have the sunlight it needs. I mean,
because
nothing
the
will
seeds
happen.
sprout towards the sunlight.
It sprouts towards the sunlight and needs that sunlight, or else you won't get nothing to begin with. It won't even try to grow. You'll just have dirt and seeds in the ground.
And then you also need a good amount of water. Not too much, but not too less, because you have one of the two. You're either going to drown it out, or it's just going to die off, and it's not going to do no good at all.
Good soil. Fertilizer.
Oxygen, even. I know you don't think about that. What about a little turn of the questions? Is there a way in general that we as humans could better the environment?
Definitely less plastic use. Recycle more, so what plastic you do use gets turned back, gets reused and turned into more plastic. They're using less resources, definitely.
Not littering, picking up what litter you do see down the road, because I know everybody's ditches, I don't care where you live at. Mm-hmm. You got cans, you got bottles, you got boxes, trash bags. I mean, just everything. Anything that's in the back of the truck that'll fly out, and I mean, just little stuff like that. I mean, it'd help anything.
Metal
straws. That's a big thing going around right now, saving the ocean and the sea turtles. What about gardening? How do you think backyard gardens can better the environment?
Nothing against farming, because farming is a very good thing, obviously. But farming does require a lot of equipment, and a lot of equipment that doesn't have the EPA emission standards that the vehicles we drive every day have. And you're putting a lot of carbon into the atmosphere with all the equipment that has to be used that's required, because it's very big equipment that takes a lot of fuel and a lot of torque to move these pieces of equipment through the fields and to do what they got to do. I mean, you're talking about combine sprayers, there's normal everyday tractors, 18-wheelers.
To haul everything.
There's a lot of hauling to do. I mean, there's a lot of work that go into farming as far as you're doing it in your backyard and growing stuff on your own.
It's from outside to inside.
It's from outside to inside.
All you're doing is not crowding the grocery store, going in there buying the stuff.
It's a lot more natural. It even helps you around. You're renewing, using resources just around your house. Anything scraps in the house you have after you're done eating, go scrape them in the garden, put them out there. It's simple compost without causing so much stuff as farming really does. And pesticides, a lot of pesticides farming does too, caught. You know, they spray a lot of pesticides and
Fertilizers.
around here, fertilizers, which around here, like crop dusting is really big. It's a popular thing around where we live, where that's where the airplane comes down, you know, especially like a sprayer spraying pesticides, but a sprayer is a lot closer to the ground, to the crops, than a crop duster. The crop duster is coming down about as low as he can get without touching what's in the airplane. You know, it's really not that low, so a lot of it, you know, if the wind's blowing, it can be going all over the place. As in a sprayer, that's directional spray in one direction. It's only going down because it's got that downforce and that pressure and that gravity helping. As far as airplane, he comes down like this, and it takes one big downward gust of wind to just send it off to the atmosphere.
So you're spraying from the road all the way to the middle of the field.
Yeah, it's going everywhere. So I mean, there's a lot of advantages to just doing it yourself.
Yeah, than buying. So, what about if you give a plant fertilizer, it helps it. What about if you give it more fertilizer than recommended? You think that would benefit the plant?
No, I think it would shock it. I think it would just shock it and kill it. Like putting too much chemicals in a pool, it doesn't do the pool any good. It makes it almost worse sometimes.
And plus, you don't want to eat. Well, I guess it really wouldn't matter with that. You probably wouldn't be eating if you put too much fertilizer. It'd probably die off.
It would die off before you could get it. So, I know you see everything on the table in front of you provided for your hands-on activity. So, you guys are going to be growing your own vegetable. I've got green bean seeds on the table in front of the cutting board. I've got potato peels and apple peels. You can put those in the soil. Those will help keep moisture in the soil, give it nutrients. Like Brian said earlier, that's a compost. There is topsoil from outside in our yard that doesn't have fertilizer or anything. There's store-bought soil. It's Miracle Grow, and it does have fertilizer beads already in the soil. And there's also, I've got here, you see vegetable and tomato food, which is like a fertilizer. I did read on the bag that is manure-based, so I'm sure it won't smell the best. I know you guys have experience with using that. You can use whatever you want. There's a spray bottle if you want to water it. There's scissors if you want to cut holes into the bottom of your container. Cut your container shorter so it's not as deep. If you want to drill holes into the bottom so that it can drain, there's a drill right there. There's spoons in front of you and your containers to scoop dirt into your container. I didn't have enough shovels. So you guys are going to kind of lead this experiment. You can talk amongst one another, decide what you guys are going to do that's going to help your seeds grow the best. It's all individualized, but you are going to work together.
All right.
Okay.
Well, what are you going to use?
I think I'm definitely going to use a store-bought soil, just for fact it naturally comes with the nutrients that I think it's going to need. And I think that all the topsoil, is good. No, I don't know where that topsoil came from. I don't know what might have been in it. I don't know what might have got sprayed on the ground beforehand. If anything, that might affect my seed. So,
well, I'm probably going to use the topsoil from outside just because it's natural and it's got sticks. I mean, just I lost my train of thought there.
I'm sure that's what you're used to using.
And that too. I mean, most of the time all we do is disc up the yard and just use what's there, just because it's all natural.
That's a good
now
point.
We would add, like the chicken manure and stuff, but most of the time we just said screw it because we got tired of the smell being in the backyard, and if it didn't grow, it didn't grow. We just let it go how it's naturally supposed to.
I'm gonna use the store-bought soil because that's what I'm used to using, and all my plants like it. So.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go ahead and drill a hole in mine.
Whenever you can.
I think, because I'm going to use the drill and drill holes in the bottom of mine. So I want it to be able to drain that water. I don't want it to hold that water too much.
Oh, God.
Well, I was hoping for one hole. I think I'm gonna stick with 3 holes. I'm gonna stick with 3 holes.
You're glad I'm not using.
I'm gonna stick three in one kind of big crack. I think is how I'm gonna do it. I think it'll drain pretty good like that.
I'm also gonna drill holes just so the water can drain out, so it don't get too much water in it. Just like it would drain away in natural soil. It's not gonna hold but so much unless you just get a lot of rain. It is what it is.
Branson took a different approach. He took a different approach.
No cracks. No cracks.
Oh no! I'm still drilling in the bottom.
He's drilling holes on the side of his container.
I did not. I just put it in the bottom.
And the bottom.
What are you doing?
They hit my finger.
Dang.
Okay, I'm done drilling.
Okay.
I'm not drilling holes in mine because it's going to be an indoor plant and I don't want water to leak everywhere and I'm not going to water it too much, so.
So you won't have to worry about getting too watered.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Okay, I think I'm gonna start off.
I'm going to put some peas in.
See, I'm gonna start off with the soil. I was gonna start off with. I'm gonna put peels, apple and potato peels in my. I'm gonna start off with
But
a
you
little.
do a little dirt
I'm gonna
layer.
do a little bit of dirt layer first. I feel like I want that compost in there, but
Give
I
it
want
room to.
Yeah. I want it. Yeah, I feel like on bottom
That's okay.
it won't do. And then
I'm going to put a little bit, some dirt, and then put a little bit more. So
Okay.
It's,
Like a lasagna.
yeah. Like a lasagna.
Hey, that'll still work. Well,
Yeah, but I'm not gonna put too many pills because I don't want to start like create a layer of it where water might, since I only have holes in the bottom. You know, that time before they decompose, I don't want it to be like a level of just peels where maybe it won't drain through very well.
I did want to add, if you guys want to read on the back of the seed container, not the container, the little bag that it came in, it'll tell you how deep to plant the seeds. You can listen to it, do what you think is best. Also, I have a farmer's almanac here if you guys want to use, and I have a page folded where it tells you, you know, like gardening according to the moon and the phases. If you want to move it outside some days when the moon's different, if you guys wanted to take a look at that.
The moon matters? I thought it was just the sun that mattered.
I might take a look at it, but as far as the moon goes,
I don't
I
know.
didn't
I've
even know you
never,
did that.
I'm not saying it doesn't affect it. I'm sure it does have effect. I'm not doubting that 1 second. But I'm not going to focus on how the moon might react. Or how my plant might react to the moon, more or less.
Now I'm going to have bad soil. My soil.
Is that all the soil you want?
No, I got it. Oh, wait, I do need more. What am I doing? Oh, thank you.
Are we going ahead and plant the seeds now? Because I'm going to plant mine right there, and then it'll give me a little layer on top of it. But I'm gonna poke me a little hole there, so because I gave enough layer of where my potato peels and apple peels, so I'm hoping everything will work right and grow like it's supposed to.
And there's 19 seeds, so we can each take 6, and then there'll be 1 extra, so one of y'all wanna.
I'll take the
Take
extra one. I'll take the extra one. You know,
I'll take 1 too.
better chance I have.
You get 6.
Mm-mm. I got 4, because I'm gonna space them out and see if I can at least get 1 to grow. So if I just plant them all in one hole, you don't know what you're gonna get.
Is that mine?
Yep.
Alrighty.
And I'm gonna look at the back of this.
Yeah, I'm not gonna look it. I kind of want to see what it says. Kind of curious as to.
I'm just winging it with everything. Sometimes when you wing it, you get a good outcome.
1 inch to 1.5.
1 inch to 1.5.
Well,
So
see
And
how
seed
1 inch.
spacing is 10 centimeters.
10 centimeters.
10 centimeters.
well, I'm definitely not getting.
I'm
it.
actually. I'm at 10 centimeters.
And days to germination is 8 to 16 days. In case you wanted to know. Space.
Starting to think I have too many seeds if the spacing has to
You ain't
be like
lying.
that. So I might actually, if anybody wants some seeds, I might donate mine to one of y'all. Do y'all
We can
want?
eat it.
Hey, we can. Yeah, we can. Put
We
it
can
up.
cut it up and each get a little seed.
Yeah, that
Oh
sounds
no,
familiar.
I'm good on that. I'm just gonna leave my extra, so see if I can't get something extra to grow.
Are none of you going to use the manure fertilizer?
I'm gonna put
I am.
some.
Oh, I forgot
not.
about that. But
I am not actually,
No,
because
I'm-
this actually comes with some fertilizer in it. I might see how it goes later on along the road, maybe.
I am curious.
I'm gonna use it because it does come with some in it, but I want to give it a little extra so maybe it'll grow.
we'll see.
I'd like to
God.
also add, I'm only using 4 seeds at this point.
I'm
See.
using 6 because I want a good chance.
See, I've got natural fertilizer. I got twigs. I've got
Oh god.
what's the thing?
I forgot how bad
Yeah.
it is now.
I got roots. I got all the natural fertilizer I need.
It's just gonna be a little bit.
And
Just help it out.
I just put my seeds in. I'm gonna give a little bit of dash of water, just a little bit of spray though.
So,
Just so my seeds can get a little moisture, and then I'm gonna add more soil
Okay.
on top.
so
I'm
why
also
did you
gonna
choose
add
that
water.
type of soil, Brian?
Why did I choose it?
Yes.
I chose it because it's nice and loose. I mean, it's not real compact. I don't think it will stay compact. I think water will run through it easily, and I think with that being said, I think it will germinate the seed really well.
What about you, Branson? Why did you choose the natural soil?
Just because, like, what in your question, it's natural, and to me, I like using everything natural instead of using the store-bought mess, because that costs money. This ain't cost nothing except for the seed. Just being honest.
That's a good point.
What about you, Alexis?
And like I said before, I chose this because every indoor plant I've ever done, I've used this soil and it's worked. So I was figuring
You're
why
just
not.
familiar with it. Okay.
I think I got a good.
Just a little bit.
So you said about it. What did I say? Inch and a
Yeah,
half.
about
Inch
inch
and a
and
half.
inch and a half.
I think I might top mine out then. I might top mine out. Laptop going good.
Alexis, why did you choose to set your container up that way?
Because my other plants I have, they like being against the windowsill. So I put it in a container like this so I could put it against it and it can get
And I
It's
think I
sunlight.
remember you saying also that it wouldn't leak out into
Yeah.
the house since you're not going to
not
put it
drill
outside.
holes. So I don't want to add too much water.
And what about you, Branson and Brian? Why did you choose to put holes into your container and set it up this way?
Just so in case, because of my negligence with plants, if I do water it too much, it can at least drain out. Instead, if I didn't drill holes like her, where hers just sits in the house, I would literally just drown mine if I did add too much water. At least this way, it's got a way to drain out and do
And
what
what
it
if-
needs to do.
Mm-hmm.
I completely agree with him. That's yeah. I want mine to drain good. I mean, I don't want it to sit there and basically sit there in a soup if it gets too much water. So I think holes was the best option for me.
What about your locations? Where are you going to keep it and why?
I'm gonna try to find a spot where mine's gonna get like basically like partial sun, where like majority of the day, at least 4 hours a day, I think would be good for sunlight. But I don't want it full sunlight all the time, where from sunrise to sunset, it's gonna get sunlight all the time. I don't want that.
And I'm just gonna set mine in the sun just because it's natural light. It's what it needs, and let nature take its course and see how it goes.
Alexis?
I'm going to set mine on a windowsill. So when it comes through the window, it can get the sunlight it needs every day. Yeah.
And I've got one more why question for you. Have you guys discussed like a watering schedule you're going to water it, and why do you think you chose this?
I'm just going to water mine when I water the rest of my plants so I can do it all at one time every day or when I think it needs it.
Like mornings, afternoons, midday, 12 o'clock at night.
I do morning and maybe nights.
Well, I'm just gonna let mine. Well, besides what I spray, I'm just gonna let mine get natural rainwater. Just because, like I said, most of the time I might not pay attention to the plants for a day or two, and I mean, the rainwater might be the only thing it gets for a few days.
I think I'm gonna try to pay close attention to mine and watch the soil. And if the soil's dry, I'm gonna make sure I water either in the morning or the nighttime. So I know I'm not gonna water in the middle of the day because that's bad. It's not good to water plants in the middle of the day when the sunlight's full blown on them. It'll basically like shock them and kill them. So I want to make sure the soil stays nice and moist so the seeds can get nice and germinated.
Are you gonna do rainwater too, or just
Yeah. If it rains for like a day or two, it rains a day. You know, I'm not gonna go out there and I'm not gonna water it. I'm gonna pay close attention to how the soil reacts to how much water it gets and
That
see what
sounds
happens.
good. So I know that the type of soil, the store-bought soil, does have fertilizers, and it doesn't have as many harmful chemicals and pesticides that many produce items that you buy from the store contains. And growing your own food is a great way to adapt your behavior to the environment and kind of reduce that impact. And setting your container up this way, it's whatever you guys feel is best for your plants, and especially with the coronavirus going on right now, it is limiting our grocery time, and the produce at the grocery stores, at least where I've been going, has been bare minimum.
Scarce to none.
Yeah, so growing your own, it'll help you, not have to be as reliant on the grocery
And
store.
trial and error to figure out where you went wrong.
Yeah. And the location, establishing gardens is a lot of steps and resources. There's a lot on this table right now that's the variables go into it, and the location is a big one that, even though it's not on the table, it definitely impacts what goes on with your plant. And the watering schedule, the environment changes, like you said, Branson. Rain does and doesn't come. We've gotten a lot of rain today, and it can affect your plant growth. It will affect,
wind.
yeah, it will affect your plant growth. And all of you chose different watering choices, so now you guys can get to see, when you compare and keep track of your watering chart, that you can see, like trial and error, like Branson said, which items and which watering schedule works and doesn't work for your plants. Do any of you have any other questions or comments?
I think mine's gonna do the best.
Mine's gonna do better.
My video is frozen.
That sucks.
Uh-oh.